Hi guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Nuggets News. Well, I'm really excited today to be able to share with you another theory that I've been working on, and this follows a prediction I made over a year ago that China would issue their own digital cryptocurrency, their own stablecoin. Now, it was in the depths of crypto winter where I'd been spending too much time thinking about what might happen in the future, and I did a write-up for our members and made this prediction that China would issue this stablecoin under the guise of being a real positive for Bitcoin, blockchain, and crypto adoption, and that's certainly the sentiment around the news at time of recording. But underlying all that would be the ability for China to trace, monitor, and track everything that is happening within their country in terms of payment system. And we've also seen Chinese banks launch their own payment system as well. So it really is under total control. Now, what this also means is that if you buy some Bitcoin or Tether or any really public coin, public blockchain, they can then track the following steps with all the chain analysis and data that people can gather these days. So they can track the movement of currency out of their country. So I really believe that this maybe isn't that overall positive, and it's going to become even more important for people to be able to act anonymously to protect their privacy and their rights going forward. And that's looking like it's going to be harder and harder by the day in China, and probably India will follow suit, and who knows what comes next. So where are we going with my next prediction? What do I think is going to happen? Well, to explain a bit of the context here, I want to talk about the US dollar losing its world reserve currency status. And this is something that Mike Maloney has spoken about for years in his Hidden Secrets of Money series, and plenty of others, where we see that people are trying to do trade now in US dollars or euros, Chinese yuan, even gold settled trades and oil commodities are now possibilities when people don't want to have to use the US dollar for every single transaction. So this is something that has really upset and agitated the US. I believe it's one of the reasons behind the trade wars and a lot of friction that we see these days. But at the same time, we see Mark Carney, head of Bank of England, coming out recently and saying that US has too many benefits. We need a new digital reserve currency of the globe. The US dollar isn't working anymore, and I think they get too many perks, and people are starting to wake up to that fact. Remember that all currencies around the world are fiat currencies. They're no longer backed by anything other than the full faith, in government and the debt of that country. And the US has got an enormous amount of debt. So what is that currency going to be worth going forward? People rarely ask these questions and think about what's going on. So in recent years, we've seen hoarding of gold by countries like China and Russia. Last week, we saw Germany announce they're buying gold again for the first time in 21 years. So the IMF, the UN, people are talking about if we have a system reset, there's too much debt, we need gold or something to be pegging or underpinning the new currency if we have to reset the system. So it's no surprise that you hear these stories that China want to be able to come out and say that we're backed by gold, and Russia say we've got plenty of oil, natural gas, resources, and gold. This is the war chest that's backing our currency in theory. Now, I believe the US claims they have a lot of gold in Fort Knox, but all the rehypothecation and lending over the years, we haven't had a transparent audit there in decades. So people have come out and said, yeah, we've seen the gold, it's all there, it's all good, guys. I don't believe that for 1 minute. So this leads me to my theory that I believe we are going to see China, Russia come out and announce that they've hoarded Bitcoin. Now, whether or not that's a public release or we get some sort of leak information that this has been happening, it just makes sense to me that the reason that they're stockpiling gold is because they don't believe in the US dollar. And anything they can do to get people to believe that gold is money, not the US dollar, is bad for the US dollar, ultimately good for their currency. So nobody wants to be first, but then nobody wants to be last. Just like we hear about these hedge funds that are dipping their toe in the water, and now we've started to see a lot more investment capital into blockchain projects, but also into Bitcoin. And once there's news that pension funds are in Bitcoin, a government is in Bitcoin, or central banks are hoarding Bitcoin, nobody wants to be last. Everyone wants to be second now, and they want to jump in. So I believe that's going to ultimately strengthen their currencies. Imagine a small Southeast Asian country. There's 200 currencies out there globally, and there's so many of these little Southeast Asian currencies that have market caps in the hundreds of billions of dollars. What are they backed by? Who are they used by? Who's going to store their value in that when the currency wars heat up? Now, if one of them comes out and says, we've got a heap of gold, we've got a heap of Bitcoin, our economy is going along okay, these are the things that are going to back our currency. It's going to be somewhat pegged to these real assets, these finite assets, they're scarce assets. That gives it real world value, as long as they stick to that peg, that is. Anyway, you guys get where I'm going with this. Anything you can have to underlie your currency is going to give it relative strength going forward in this global economy. So that is definitely what I see unfolding. Hoarding of these Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. Governments can, in theory, print that money out of thin air. So who knows what efforts they're going to go to accumulate this Bitcoin. That's when things really heat up. Obviously, that's exciting for anyone that's been an early adopter of this technology, and it would probably lead to a big run up in price. But I definitely think going forward, the US dollar, the currency wars, that world reserve status is something that is going to change, and whoever's holding the real assets is going to have the greatest benefit. So if you want more of these theories, guys, head to nuggetsnews.com.au to join our community. Otherwise, smash that like button, share this video around, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll chat to you again soon. Cheers.